Someone powerful did something wrong. The people around them saw it, or heard about it, or were close enough to know, and they did nothing. Not because they were paid off, not because they were threatened, not because they made a conscious decision to protect someone, because their brain, without asking permission, made the decision for them. Today we're going to look at the 6 cognitive biases that make ordinary people into involuntary shields for the powerful. And by the end, you'll be able to see them working in real time, in the news, in your workplace, possibly in yourself. Most people assume that protecting the powerful requires active participation, loyalty, money, fear, a calculated decision to look the other way. But the research tells a different story. The most powerful protection powerful people have doesn't come from their lawyers or their money. It comes from the predictable, automatic, involuntary responses of every ordinary person who encounters information about them. 6 biases, each one documented, each one operating beneath conscious awareness. Together, they form a protection system so effective it doesn't need to be designed. It assembles itself. In 1920, psychologist Edward Thorndike discovered that we judge people as entirely good or entirely bad based on one dominant impression. When someone is perceived as successful, charismatic, or powerful, the brain extends that positive impression across every domain. Their competence implies their character. Their wealth implies their integrity. Their fame implies their innocence. This is why accusations against powerful people are met with genuine disbelief, not manufactured disbelief. The brain simply cannot hold respected leader and person capable of serious harm in the same frame simultaneously. It defaults to the image it already has, and the more resources someone has poured into building that image, the stronger the default. Every charity event, every magazine profile, every award ceremony, not vanity, architecture. In 1961, Stanley Milgram put ordinary people in a room with someone in a lab coat and watched 65% of them administer what they believed were dangerous electric shocks because the authority figure said it was necessary. Now replace the lab coat with a corner office, a net worth, a title, a legacy. The authority signal scales with status, and at high enough levels of power, the brain doesn't just defer to authority. It stops questioning it entirely. This is not weakness. This is a deeply embedded social adaptation, the same one that allowed humans to function in hierarchies for hundreds of thousands of years. But in the hands of someone who has accumulated enough status, it becomes a cognitive blindfold. The people around power don't just respect it, they lose the ability to evaluate it. Here's the one that explains institutional silence. When people are part of the same organization, social group, or professional circle as a powerful person, their brain automatically activates loyalty circuits. In-group bias is the tendency to favor, trust, and protect members of our own group, and to view threats to those members as threats to ourselves. This is why boards don't investigate their own CEOs, why colleagues don't report their own supervisors, why industries protect their own stars. It's not conspiracy. It's tribal psychology operating at institutional scale. The moment you share an employer, a profession, a social circle, or an ideology with someone, your brain begins filtering information about them through a loyalty lens. Evidence against an in-group member doesn't land the same way as evidence against an outsider. It feels like an attack on the group, and the brain responds accordingly. Once a belief about a person is formed, the brain actively works to protect it. Confirmation bias is the tendency to seek, interpret, and remember information in ways that confirm what we already believe. For people who believe in a powerful person, every positive piece of information strengthens the belief. Every negative piece of information gets scrutinized, doubted, and in many cases discarded. The accusers are examined more harshly than the accused. Their motivations are questioned. Their histories are investigated. Their consistency is analyzed. Meanwhile, the powerful person's denials are accepted with a fraction of the same scrutiny. This isn't cynical. This is what confirmation bias does automatically to everyone, regardless of intelligence. The stronger the original belief, the harder the brain works to protect it. And for someone who has spent decades building public trust, the original belief is very strong indeed. Here's the bias that might be the most dangerous of all. Human beings have a deep psychological need to believe that the world is fundamentally fair, that people get what they deserve, that success reflects merit, that serious wrongdoing eventually gets punished. Psychologist Melvin Lerner called this the just world hypothesis, and decades of research confirm how powerfully it shapes human judgment. When someone successful and admired is accused of wrongdoing, the just world belief is threatened, because if they did it and they're still successful, still celebrated, still powerful, then the world isn't fair. And that conclusion is psychologically intolerable for many people. So instead of updating their belief about the world, the brain updates its belief about the accusation. The accusation must be false. The accuser must have an agenda. Justice will sort it out eventually. The just world bias doesn't protect powerful people because people like them. It protects them because people need the world to make sense. The final piece. Even when someone has seen enough, knows enough, and privately believes that something is wrong, they still may do nothing, because everyone else is doing nothing. The bystander effect, first documented after Kitty Genovese's murder in 1964, shows that the more witnesses there are to a situation, the less likely any individual is to act. Responsibility diffuses across the crowd. Everyone assumes someone else is better positioned to respond, someone more informed, someone with more authority, someone whose job it is. At institutional scale, this becomes almost mathematically reliable. The board assumes legal knows. Legal assumes HR knows. HR assumes management knows. Management assumes someone already handled it. No single person feels responsible, and so the person who most needs accountability gets none. Here's what these 6 biases have in common. None of them require bad intent. None of them require loyalty to the powerful person. None of them require a calculation. None of them require someone to look in the mirror and decide to protect wrongdoing. They operate automatically, silently, in people who would sincerely describe themselves as honest, principled, and fair. This is what makes them so effective and so dangerous. The protection isn't chosen, it's generated by the same cognitive machinery that helps you function socially, trust authority, maintain group cohesion, and believe in a fair world. Powerful people don't just exploit these biases. The smartest ones actively cultivate the conditions that trigger them. More awards, more philanthropy, more association with respected institutions, more cultivation of in-group identity. Every layer of reputation is a layer of cognitive protection, not built for vanity, built for exactly this. So what do you do with this? The first thing, and the most important thing, is to understand that awareness of a bias does not automatically neutralize it. Knowing about the halo effect doesn't make you immune to it. Knowing about authority bias doesn't make authority less compelling. But awareness does one specific thing that nothing else can. It creates a moment of pause between the automatic response and the action. That pause is where accountability lives. The next time you find yourself dismissing an accusation against someone powerful, ask one question.